ultimately what matters is the supply chain concept is I've got a raw material way, way, way upstream, and I've got an end user way, way, way downstream, and I have a whole set of entities and activities in between there that get it from, let's say, farming cotton to buying a shirt off the shelf. There's a lot of things that happen in between there, and the supply chain and the management thereof are all those things. Now, if you think about it, a supply chain is really a simple concept. So here you're looking at just a raw material goes supplier, manufacturer, distribution, wholesale, retailer, et cetera, and it goes out to the customer. That's great. It's really simple in concept. In reality, when you start to think about it, now you get this whole twist. And that twist gets into the fact that now I have all these inventories. So for some people, they're finished goods. For other people, it's raw materials. In the middle of it, there's got work in process. But all those individual inventories then start to pile up. You have all these different entities in the middle of this chain that are in different forms and have different transformation processes applied to them, so they're worth different amounts and value, et cetera. But there's lots of them. And this is one of the banes of an operations person, is how much of that there is and where it is, because we constantly try to manage it efficiently and effectively so I don't have too much. Because if I have too much of it, then I'm just wasting money and it's sitting on a shelf. Or I don't have too little. If I have too little, I haven't made enough and maybe starving my customers. So when you think about that, I've got this supply chain, I've got a lot of inventory I have to manage, and I have to manage all these entities in terms of my relationships. Now, what makes this worse is the fact that I have this added complexity of not only am I buying from certain suppliers, but so is my competition. So that creates the potential for gaming, the potential for uneven relationships. You've got power plays, you've got different dynamics. So all these things add up so that I have to understand that I need to manage my individual supply chain as efficiently and effectively as I can, because in the core of what we do now from a business perspective, it's not company versus company, it's literally supply chain versus supply chain. And I say that because if you buy raw materials from another entity, it can result in the fact that you are subject to any mistakes they make, and you may be the one guilty of it if something goes wrong. So just think about this example. A few years ago, I believe it was Tyco was producing Thomas the Tank Engine toys that they sold to small children. Well, they got their raw materials and certain aspects of their inputs from an overseas manufacturer. They put those into their individual trains. They packaged the trains, they sent them to the market. Come to find out the trains had lead paint. Well, obviously that's something that's not good for a child to be eating lead paint. So who takes the blame? Well, Tyco sold them, but Tyco, or whoever the organization was, that didn't actually make the mistake, but they were tied to another entity, so the chain made a mistake, but the entity who ultimately was the interface with that end customers who took the hit. The same thing happened with a pet food manufacturer company, and I want to say Iams, but I'm not exactly sure, but they were using input materials from a foreign manufacturer, put them into their pet food, sent it out to the market, and pets started dying. Well, that causes a problem that company is going to take the hit for, despite the fact it was somebody else. So what you can start to see is that supply chains, basically you have to rely on your individual partners, and your partners rely on you too, to form hopefully that tightest chain possible so that you can ultimately deliver something to the end customer. So why does this matter? Well, basically it matters because you can't do everything. So I think the last truly vertically integrated supply chain was Henry Ford when he made his Model A's, Model T's, because he owned rubber plants, he owned tire manufacturers, he owned steel companies, etc., and he could control it all. But in today's economy and the complexity of what we do, you can't do that. You're not capable of having everything under your thumb, so you have to buy things from other entities, sell things to other entities, and that way you have to constantly manage what it is across this, while still considering time, flexibility, customization, quality, cost, all those things.